Okay, folks, we're starting day 4 of our trek from Florida to Washington State. This is the Comfort Inn in Springfield, Missouri, where we stayed last night. And we are on our way towards South Dakota and eventually Mount Rushmore. Today I think we're going to Sioux City, Iowa, where we have reservations for a hotel tonight. So I will check in with you as we move along.
We'll see it. So,
all right, we're headed on our way to Kansas City. It's day 4, around 12:30, and there's something very peculiar on the road here. I don't know what it is, but it's been raining most of the morning as we've been driving, and we still have another 5 hours or so to go to get to our destination. And I'll check back with you later. Here we are approaching the Kansas City skyline. The skies have cleared a little bit. The rain has gone away. We are continuing our journey. Hey folks, it's the end of day 4 and we have made it all the way to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So we're moving along on our way from Florida to Washington. And for this segment, I am going to again talk a little bit about this book, Life 101, which I've been taking you through as we go through our journey across the United States. We're taking a journey through life, and through this book is seen through the eyes of the authors. And today, on day 4, I'm going to talk about part 2, which is called Advanced Tools for Learners. So again, the whole concept of this book is, according to the authors, is that purpose of life is learning. And we should learn as much as we can. They say life is a persistent teacher, and that the first thing they address in part 2 is why we resist learning. And in fact, we do often resist learning. And the authors describe 4 sort of personality types that are conducive to resisting learning. And the first type they point out is the rebel. So the rebel will not do whatever they're told. If you're presented with a learning opportunity, the rebel will rebel against it and will not address the lesson to be learned. The second personality type is the unconscious type of individual. Kind of drifts off into their own fantasy land whenever anything confrontational comes along. They don't engage very easily, and that's that personality type. Then they talk about comfort junkies. So anything that would be uncomfortable, they avoid. They like to be comfortable. They don't like to get out of their comfort zone. And if any lessons are there to be learned and it involves discomfort of any kind or confrontation of any kind, they don't want to deal with it. And the fourth personality type is approval seekers. And they're kind of the opposite of the rebels. They will do everything to please. They will do whatever other people want. And oftentimes they get so caught up in that's their main focus, and it's not on the learning and improving themselves or empowering themselves. And they point out that each of us has little bits, some more than others, of each of these 4 within us from time to time in different circumstances, and that's probably true. But these are 4 patterns that are sort of the opposite of what the learning paradigm would be. They say that they then started talking about tools for learning, and they say probably the most effective tool for learning is doing. If you want to learn something, start out doing it. Try something, go for something, and you'll either hit your mark or you won't. And either way, you'll learn something. You'll learn if you don't hit your mark. You'll be able to correct and do something else. So that's one of their big tools. And they say it's not so much what the outcome is of your attempts at doing things, it's how you respond to what happens, and that's where the learning comes in. They also talk about how our minds, our bodies, and our emotions will sometimes take over and run the show for us, and they'll run our lives. And when that happens, it kind of shuts off learning, it shuts off authenticity and inquiry and all kinds of other stuff. They then talk about acceptance as being the first law of personal growth. And they're talking about when you accept yourself or anything about yourself as it actually is, or about the world as it actually is, you actually relax. You let go, you become patient, and you're not struggling against life, so you're there to see what learnings are available and to take advantage of them. So they're always talking about looking for the lesson in everything that happens. And they talk about relationships as being great learning opportunities. That you're in a relationship with another person, there's lots of things to learn about relationships, lots of things to learn about the other person. And we often have a lot of learning to do in having successful relationships. I can tell you, we're on day 4. Christina and I have been in the car together solidly for 4 days. There's a lot of interaction going on, a lot of stuff going wrong and stuff that we could easily get on each other about. And there's a learning process that goes on as to how to relate to each other with compassion, with understanding, and with love. They then talk about some of the inner voices that we all have to deal with, and we know the inner voices in our head. And they tease out a couple of them: the critic, the praiser, the dummy, the know-it-all. And they talk about how we have to struggle against our inner voices at times, which I think is true. And then they talk about accountability versus victimhood. If you're going to be a learner in life, from a victim stance, it's kind of hard to do that. You really have to take accountability for yourself, learn the lessons that are presented to you, and for you to adopt accountability is adopting the perspective that no matter what happens in your life, or what happens to you in particularly, that you either created it, promoted it, or allowed it. So you probably in one of those 3 ways or more, you probably had something to do with it. And if you look from that perspective, you will usually see that yes, in fact, you did. And so they call that, in terms of accountability, create, promote, allow, CPA for accountability. I get it, accountant, CPA, accountability. That's how they put it all together. That is pretty much a wrap-up of, or a synopsis of, part 2 of the book, Life 101. So tomorrow we are headed out to further west in South Dakota, almost to Mount Rushmore, and we have a hotel room where we'll be staying tomorrow night, and then Friday morning we'll get up and go to Mount Rushmore to tour that monument, which I have never seen before. So I will report back to you tomorrow.